everybody, it's Kat from Creative Crafts, and today's video is going to be about working on making a 3D canvas. We're going to be using just the front part of this face, just this front part here. And if you want to know exactly how to make this, watch further. So now the things that you're going to need, of course, is you're going to need something with a solid form of a face, which I have this foam head that I bought to make a decoration with. And I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm just going to use the face to make, the face out of paper mache, whatever you call it. I'm going to be also using plaster of Paris bandages, the ones that I have left over from one of my other projects. As you notice, the nose here is a little bit squished in, because it's been in a box all this time. So the things you're going to need for this project is you need some kind of a solid form of a head. It could be, one of those, what do you call it, stands where people, the people use at stores, if you have any of those, or if you have a mask that has a normal face on it, a normal looking face, and it's solid, then you could use that. I suggest to use something like this. You can buy something like this on Amazon for like $2. They're not very expensive. You're going to need a canvas, of course. This one I used for projects on top of it, but I'm going to be covering this, so it doesn't matter. You're going to need aluminum foil. Not much. You're going to need paper mache. You're going to need Mosh Posh. But my method of Mosh Posh is, children's glue mixed with water, half and half. Paint brushes. You're going to need paint. And then I have some plaster here that cover holes and stuff like that. I have that too, so I want to try to make that area with the face a little bit smooth. And yeah, you're going to need glue. I'm going to have hot glue. I'm going to use hot glue. You can use any other kind of glue. I don't think Elmer's glue or kids glue would actually, when you want to finish with this part, because you're going to be making maybe something about only this deep, not too deep, because you don't want it to stick out too much from the frame. And if you want to glue something like that on here, I don't think Elmer's glue is actually going to hold on to it good, because Elmer's glue or children's glue, you can actually, if it's on certain surfaces, you can peel it, and you don't want to use that. So, right, without any thing, we'll go to the first step. So, of course, the first step is, to work with the head. It's not going to stay on its side like that. So I suggest that you maybe get something that you could stick the head into so it doesn't move around too much. Find something that works. If certain things don't work, like this here, you can see this is actually it doesn't really hold it. If I maybe stick it into something else, or I can leave it like this if I want. But working with the plaster of Paris or paper mache, whatever you want to work, use this. You can use whatever you want. You can use old newspaper. Recycling is very important on my page. So I'm going to figure out what I can do here. I need something to put here. Maybe I can use this here. Well, that's pretty much okay. So I wasn't sure how I wanted to do this, but I said I'm going to take a little bit of this aluminum foil. If I was you, I would use saran wrap, plastic wrap, or whatever you want to call it. I don't have any, so I'm going to have to use a square piece of this. But what I'm going to do is I have to make sure that I got the eyes, If you want to get something that's rounded to help you get that face form. The lips. Where is my little... Saran wrap, like I said, would work much easier. So let me get these. This thing here is actually for when you work with clay. And what I'm going to do is, I don't know if you can see, I'm going to take this and try to have it go around and make the form. Try not to make any puncture wounds or any holes. You don't want that, because when you use the glue, what's going to happen with the glue is it's going to seep through the hole and stick to the foam, and you don't want to do that, especially if you're going to use the plaster of Paris. And like I said, you're not going to use too much of the face. You just want to have maybe, you know, up to here and up. That's all you need, because you're going to take that part of the face and then stick it on the canvas when you're done. So you need something what will be easier for you to, you know, peel it off this foam box or plastic box, whatever you have. Very important that you do it this way. So down. This part doesn't mean anything. It's just this part here. So when you stick the paper mache or whatever, you're going to have the actual form of the face. So let's get started with this. The next step is debating what you want to use. Do you want to use paper mache? You can do that. You can also mix water with Elmer's glue and use that onto the paper. Or you can use not old, but the wallpaper paste. If you have any box wallpaper paste that you mix yourself, anything left over, you can mix that and use this with the paper mache, and then you can do that too. It doesn't have to be perfect, because later, once it's completely dry, what I can tell you what you need to do is you're going to need to cut it and make it even anyway. So what you want to do now is start doing the gluing. I knew that was going to come out. I have here some napkins. I work with, as you can see here, I make coasters out of bathroom tiles or tiles, these small tiles. They actually come in a big block, and they come in 9 sections, and I cut the sections up and it comes into this little form. I have a video on there, check that out. And now I'm letting this dry, and then of course I'm going to put a bottom on it, and then I'm going to spray it with a varnish so that it's water protected, so that nothing happens. So with the this is the napkin technique that I did here, and this is the bottom part of the napkin that I took from here. And now I'm going to be using this too after I use the strips first. So now I'm going to take the napkins out of this box. And then I have these strips that I used from one of my projects that I'm sure you saw already. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to do one side first. I'm going to turn it towards me. So make it so that you can see what you're doing. I need my water and a paintbrush. Make sure there's room here. I don't want to have too much chaos here. And what I do to suggest is, I would not stick this in the water, the plaster of Paris strips, because of the fact that when you stick these into the water, what happens is all this plaster that's on there, on the plaster strips here, as you can see now that I don't know if you can really see what I'm doing here, but sometimes I would stick my finger. Make sure you see the plaster, you can know the plaster loosening up on the strip, and you try to cover up those little holes, and there you go. As you notice here, the plaster of Paris strips, they have one end that's flat, and then the other side is where the plaster is actually, you can see there's lumps all over it. This side should usually be on the top. On my last video when I used these, I didn't actually say that. So I might make a reversed, whatever you call it, revered version, whatever it's called. That's what I will be doing. I have allergies. The weather is really beautiful out. Now my allergies are coming back. So this is how you do it. You just stick it on there, try to make it, hold it. Be gently as possible. If you need some more water, stick your fingertip in it only. Try not to get too much water onto it. You don't want to do that. And I'm tapping it like this and holding the tip with my finger, because you want to make sure those the bandage that has holes in it, that you can see that there's no longer any holes. As you can see here, I don't know if you can really see the hole, this side, the holes in it. You have to do that until you notice that the holes are no longer there. So, and that's how you could tell that you did the bandage plaster correctly. Try not to work too fast with it. And like here right now, I'm going to try to hold it down where the eye is. Stick my finger just to get a tab of water. Tap, 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 in, spread. Tap, 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 spread. This will actually help the mask, the areas that you're working with, become stronger, tougher. So now what I want to do is take my brush, wipe it down with it's a little wet still, but I want to take my brush, especially in this really sensitive area where the eye is. You want to make sure that you have the form of the eye. So now everybody, I had put 2 coats already on top of here. So as you can see, it looks really well. So now I'm going to let this sit and dry. And once it's hardened, then we can cut off the pieces that we need. Sand it down slightly, just very slightly. You want to make it kind of like smooth parts of it. And then we can go to the next step. Hi everybody. Now that we did this, and you can see how it came out. So now you have to be careful. Make sure that it's totally dry. And if you feel that it's not thick enough, then I would suggest that you add some more paper mache or other stuff to it. And mine is still kind of like a cold feeling. And when plaster or this plaster of Paris feels cold, usually that means it's still kind of damp. It gets hot fast, but it's still very fragile. It can break up easily. So I'm going to be very gentle, and try to take out. It should come off without a problem. Try not to squeeze, because it's still very fragile. And there you go. mean, the mask is a little bit, the face on this foam head is not as big as a normal face. If you want to have one that's normal, I would suggest that you see if you can get a large one. So now what I would suggest that you do is try to cut off. See if it cuts without a problem. If somehow it seems still kind of damp and you can't cut it all off the correct way to make it even, then I suggest that you wait still a little bit more. I should have put more on this end here, but that will be covered. I just need to make sure that it's level and flat somehow to the canvas. That's what I need, so that when I put it on the canvas, that it sits like this on the canvas. I will cut it down just some more. I will cut it down at least from here on. Probably just from here exactly, so that's totally flush down on there. And then another suggestion, not suggestion, but what I will do is take my sandpaper, take some little piece. You need, I forgot to say that at the thing, you need some sandpaper so you can sand this down. You don't want to sand it down too hard. You want to do it very lightly, especially if it's still kind of damp, because you want to try to just get any of the pointy areas out, because you really don't need to really cover this, because the fact is what I'm going to do with it once I cut it is I'm going to stick this foil, you know, under it, on top of it. And I know you're thinking, why didn't I do that in the first place? I needed this form to do this. I didn't want to cut the head up. I didn't want to waste it. So I'm going to do this. This is a different one. I'm going to be using Mosh Posh for this and gluing this onto the face. But first you have to make sure that it's dry. If it's not dry, what's going to happen is if you cover it and it's still wet and then you close it up, it'll create mold, and you don't want to do that. So right now I'm going to cut this up. At least try to get some. I'm just hoping I can. You see, like this. And I'm going to go all the way around. And try to it's still kind of wet. You can feel it. I'm going to stick this on the heater before I do any more work with it. And then stick it on here and see how it looks. You can see here, it's still kind of iffy, so I have to cut down from this side now. So now it's perfect. And once it's dried, I can glue it on here. You can do it like this, go like this. You can glue it any way you want. I'm thinking I'm just going to have it tipped. I don't want to have it straight, so I'm going to glue it tipped like this. But first I'm going to stick this on the heater so it can dry, so I can stick the foil on, and that will be the next. So now what we're going to do is, first let's move this to the side, because I don't want to put any pressure on it. So now what I want to do is take my sandpaper. I don't want to put too much pressure on it, because if you use what I did here, or paper mache, you can see here it's coming loose here, but that's fine because this is just a, what do you call it, the mold, or the how I want to have a face coming out from the canvas. So it's going to be covered with the aluminum foil. I just want to make sure that there is not too many things sticking up, causing this to have any kind of, what do you call it, you know, bumps, too many bumps on it. So I'm just going to do this. You don't want it, it's not going to be, doesn't have to be perfect. Just enough so that you don't have, doesn't, like I said before, that there's no sharp edges or sharp pieces where you can actually make, you know, a hole into the foil. You don't want to have a hole on it. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to get a small pair of scissors here and cut off any like hairs that you see hanging around on it, like this here. Just want to cut off whatever little hairs there are. You don't want to have too many of them hanging around on it. And when you're done with that, that's when you don't have to worry about painting the canvas, because you don't need to. So you're going to get the canvas, because you're going to paint everything later. Right now, you're going to first, the most important thing is gluing this piece onto your canvas. I wasn't sure how I wanted to have it, if I wanted to have it long ways, but I decided to have it this, you know, hang it up like this. So I'm just going to stick the face, you know, awkwardly on here, like in the middle. And then I'm going to stick the foil on it. And now I'm not going to put the foil all across the canvas. I'm just going to put it on some of it. You'll see how I'm going to do it. But right now we're going to glue the face onto this here. The glue gun should be hot by now. And I'm just going to see the areas where I know it's going to get glued. And it seems that it's going to be on these ends here. You don't want to put too much glue, because you don't want to have bulky sides on it. So what I'm going to do is stick this exactly on there like that. What you see here, what I just did. So, and now what I want to do is I'm going to get some primer paint, some white primer paint, and I'm just going to put paint around the sides here. The middle part doesn't really need any paint because of the fact that you're going to put the foilie over it, and I just want to have the round edges. So what I want to do now is I'm going to get, take this thing off, so isn't it? It's not the same, no, it's not the same size. And I'm going to stick these two things in the middle so that I can paint the direct sides, the color that of the primer. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go like this. Take my paintbrush. And like I said, I just wanted to paint it. These parts just need to be primed with paint. Sorry, buddy. Before you put the foil on, the next step is putting the foil. And what I want to do is I'm going to do it like this. But first I want to glue this part onto the face. So what I would do is suggest is you use Elmer's glue. not this one. I have all this glue here. This is for my projects whenever I do them. So, and I'm going to use a good size paintbrush to put the glue on there. So make sure it's totally dried. And I suggest that you get a cup, something small like this. I'm just going to cut this cup so it's not so deep. I'll pick that up later. And I'm going to take some of this glue and put it inside this cup. So it'll be easier for me to dip the brush in. Because I don't really need that much. And I don't want to leave this open. So put that aside. Then you take your glue. And what I suggest that you do is take your brush and put it all around this whole face so that it really sticks well. It does. Don't worry about it dripping all over here because you're gonna end up. Make sure you don't put too much so that it's not dripping really badly. Make sure you put enough so that it doesn't don't what do you call it? Dry too fast. Because you don't want it to dry too fast. So I would just suggest that you put a little on here on the side too. So that when you stick it, you can add some more glue later. Now that I got that done, put my paintbrush, the brush inside water. And like I would wait maybe a few minutes to let it actually get hard. And then you can take your foil. And I would start with the nose and the mouth area. And try to make it as smooth as possible. Let me get my little stick here. So, and you know that we put glue on the bottom areas here. So you can now start, you can either use, a Q-tip, or you can use something like this to really flatten out really well. Or you want to put this here like this. You can use tools if you want. So now I did this. So what I want to do is I want to try to take the face and use this part. Don't rub too hard like I did over here. And try to squish down all those lumps a little bit so that it's, that it's sticking to the glue. But you can do that after you remove all this extra stuff here. So, don't think it's going to look that bad. Once it's all glued down, I want to try to get some over here. I'm not sure exactly what I want to do yet. Maybe I can do something like this. Maybe put it under here. Nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it like this. So now that we got the area that we want, put this stuff aside. You can always recycle it and reuse it. So now what I want to do is, like I said, take something. You can use a Q-tip if you want. You can use a very soft brush. But I would suggest that you try to find something that you know that it's not going to... Remember, this is paper mache, so you can't press too hard or it'll ruin it. So what I'm going to do here now is just... I use this part. This part's better. I saw a YouTube video on how to make one of those Halloween ones like I told you, and I did one myself. If I thought of this before I made that, I would have done it this way because it's much easier. Cutting that foam was horrendous. Like I said, don't go too hard on it because you remember this is paper mache. So now the next step is gluing the rest so that you can finally have it all flat. So you can prepare to paint the colors that you want on it. So now what you do is lift this up slightly. I would start on one end and see exactly where it goes. And make sure you get enough glue on it, not too much. Remember what I told you? So I'm going to try to spread this as much as possible. It's very thick glue. It's okay if you go over the area where there's no fully going. That's fine. Just make sure you get enough on it. I think I got enough now. So I'll put my paintbrush here on the side. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this end. I'm going to make sure that I don't pull it. And then you're going to rub onto the canvas. Any area that still pops up, you can stick glue on it later. If you want, you can take a dry towel or something soft and rub it. There you go. That side is pretty glued on. And now you're going to do the other side. this is one of the steps so far, what you can do. I just wanted to have the face in this direction. I didn't want to have it straight. I thought I wanted to have some kind of dimension, but I think this looks really nice so far. And so when you finish like this, what you're going to do is go around areas with something, with a Q-tip or something soft, and rub down some areas where you think, all right, you can use your finger too if you want. If you want it flatter, the area, or go in a circle motion. And make sure that you have that area covered. Really well covered. You know, flattened, that it's hitting the canvas where the glue was on. Because if it is not glued completely down, like this, these areas here where the air head is, where it flattened inside, I can suggest that what you can do is, like I wanted to show you here, is take some of the corner pieces and maybe do this to it. But I'm not sure if I really want to do that. I'm not really sure. Do I have a totally straight? No, I just have this one. Really big one here. I mean, I can do something like this. But I'm not sure if I want to have the whole thing covered. I don't think I'm going to cover the whole thing. If I don't like the way it looks later, then I will. So everybody, I decided that I was going to end up pointing 2 points on this end. I think it looks better that way. I still pissed off at myself that I poked the holes. I poked the eyes in too deep, and there's no way for me to open that up. So, and I don't want to ruin my canvas. So, anyway, like I said, I put these 2 corners on now, and we will wait until this glue dries on the top. And then what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to use the copper color over this. And then I will take a little bit of green and some black and slightly go over the areas where the folds are, so it looks more like this antique looking image. This is my intentions, so we'll see how it looks when we get to that part. So the next step is actually do the painting. So now, again, I'm going to need my 2 little rolls of tape and put this underneath so I can put the head here so that when I paint, I don't have to worry about the paint dripping over to the sides. So that is the next step. So a quick tip for you guys, if you want to make different designs on the design, when you want to make different designs, I'd suggest that you get a toothpick and draw with that. Don't go too deep. I don't know if you can see the lines I made here. Maybe I can do it on top of here. Show you how to do it. And I hope you can see that. So I made some lines across it with it. You can make swirlies. You can do anything with it. I don't know if I put it closer. I can see the lines. You see the lines there, the straight lines all across it? That's how I made with the toothpick. If you want to make different designs on your painting here, you can use that too. So everybody, I want to give you another quick tip. Before you put all this on, if you want to have any dimension, or if you don't have the head there and you want to put something else, what you could do is you take an old cardboard. You know when you peel the cardboard, like a cardboard box, and you take the piece of it and then you peel it, how the inside has like these ridges inside? What you could do is make a very thin line and then put it on top of here first, and then put the foil, and then you have that another 3D effect. There are so many different effects that you can actually use. If you want, you can also, you know, take pearls or little decorations and put them here. You can use yarn to make little designs. You can use, you know, this kind of string. You can use this. There are so many things, flowers, you know, wire, so many things you can put on or on this before you put the foil on. That is another tip for you guys. You know, the options are never ending with this. So that is another quick. So now I'm going to start painting, and the color I'm going to use at first is, of course, black, because you want to have it, you want to make it this antique look. And I'm going to also use copper and green with it, so that is another step. But this step is where I'm going to paint the most important areas, the sides, and all around it with black. Not too, here I'm going to put, you know, normal, and then here I don't want to put it too thick, because once you paint it just a little bit, you're going to want to try to, you know, you'll see. Just describing it is nothing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour some of this acrylic paint, which I'm using, if you want to know which paint I'm using. And I'm going to try to be as limited about putting some of this paint onto the foil. First, I just want to paint this side first. You know, the areas where there is no foil. So guys, first I wanted to let you guys know, making a video for YouTube is not an easy task. There's a lot of time that consumes with it. Also, especially when you're making something like this, you have to wait for it to dry. Then you have to also wait, then do the next step. And then if you're going to have like this here, I'm going to be making a lot of layers. There's different layers, you know, first the mask, then this Foley, and then now I'm doing the paint, and then there's going to be another paint, another color that's going to be going on here. So besides the black, but I just want to make the form here, and a little bit, get this correct here on the side. I'll check that out when I'm done. I'm sure I got it right. Make sure you get the whole thing. I don't want to leave too much paint on this side, so whatever's extra sitting on here, that's what I can use for the Foley area, which is coming next. I think I may need some more paint. I don't want to have it thick. I just want to have it thin here. Maybe not, because I think there's enough paint already on here. So now what I want to do is I'm going to go very gently over this, the foil. So now that I'm done with this, like I said, you don't need much paint. So I'm going to take this tissue that I already used, and I'm going to try to, you know, not touch the paint, you know, the paint areas here. And I'm just going to try to lift up some of the paint and rub it. So everybody, I decided before the paint actually completely dries up, the black, I want to take some green. You don't need much. And then I'm going to take, I think I'm going to take one of these big brushes that I have. It looked funny, I know, but I think this is more when you paint the wall, but I like them because they were soft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to take my green paint, dab it on the end, and then I'm going to try to get all of it off. So just that it's just a tiny bit on there. And what I suggest is that you, when you can't, all right, you know what I'm going to do? I don't have to do the sides, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to move these things out of the way. There we go. Now I can paint better. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the paintbrush, and as you can see, there's just a little bit of green now in it. And I'm going to do this throughout the whole thing. And the next step is with the copper color. So everybody, it seems that everything is dry, and now I want to use the copper color. I'm going to use the same foil where the black and green is, if the paint wants to go down on the bottom. There we go. So what I want to do is, I think I'm going to use a bigger brush like I did before, which I clean everything first before I put all the water everywhere. Dry it. This towel is actually from the last videos I made with how you can make a bath towel out of old towels. That's also on my channel, so check out my older videos and you can see that. So now I have this, and I want to try to now play around with this color. Let's see how it looks. We don't want to put too much. No, that doesn't work. I don't like it like that. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to take my towel. No, I don't like how that looks. That's too much. So that's way too much copper. So I really have to go into this area where the black and green is and mix it into it. That's what I have to do. You don't want to brush it like this. That's why I'm doing this. Even if you get a bigger brush, one of those normal long skinny ones, you can do the same thing to it. I don't know if I never saw brushes like this before. I think it's only here in Germany. But once it's totally dry, I'm sure it's going to look great. It really is going to look great. Now I'm going to go over in a couple of areas with green. Just so that it has that antique look. No, that's not going to do it. Just like I said before, just take the brush and tap it. This is my method of how I do it. And then you can see a little bit of green here and there, which is good. Because you don't want to have too much of copper in this area. Like I said, I want to have it, make sure that this is like a pearly copper that I'm using. So it really will show when it's dried. You can see the shine in it. So this still needs more copper. I'm gonna have to put a lot more on it. It looks too much black. It doesn't look like it. So as you can see here, I had basically finished with some of the painting. So now I'm going to let this sit overnight and dry and see what it looks like the next morning. And if it needs more copper, I may do that, or black, or whatever colors it needs. As I can see here in the video, it doesn't look very nice, but like this, it looks better. You see? This looks great, I think. So I'm going to let it dry, and then we'll go to the next step, which is to make it a little bit shiny or do little touch-ups. So everybody, it's the next day, and I think this looks actually gorgeous. I love the way it came out. It's still really early in the morning. I have my coffee. I just wanted to say good morning. And now what we're going to do is I want to take some of this Elmer's glue and put it around the whole thing so that it has a shiny effect. So like I said, you're going to get some of this glue. Like I said, put it in a small cup so that you can, don't think I'm going to need so much. I suggest that if you're going to work a lot with Elmer's glue or with some kind of a children's glue, this is not Elmer's, well, it is Elmer's glue, but it's not from the company Elmer's. It's a children's glue here in Germany. It's basically made from the same stuff, and it's cheaper. So, and the same thing goes with this. This was craft glue. This is from my acrylic pouring that I'll be doing, and I mixed half with water and half with the glue, so that I can do that. Now I'm going to get one of my big brushes, make sure they're clear from any kind of paints and water. You don't want to have anything mixing with it because then it won't have that shiny effect. So now I'm going to take my Elmer's glue here, and I'm just going to paint all around it. You know, I want to put some on the side too. And Elmer's glue will stick to the table, so we're going to do this again. Put it up so that I can do the sides also, because you want the whole thing protected. This is one safe way to make a shine on your paintings, is to use the Elmer's glue. Because if you can use varnish too, but the Elmer's glue will also make it, give it the shine that you want. So, and try not to put too many layers, because if you do, what's going to happen is it's going to drip, and it's going to cause bubbles on top, and then it won't look any good. So, like I said, I suggest that it's going to take a while to do this. A little tip for you all, if you don't want to do this part with the Elmer's glue, you don't have to. You can use a varnish spray to protect it even more. But I think this almost glue is good. I mean, as long as you're not sitting it outside so the rain hits it, that'll be different. Then you probably need something stronger. But I did this because of the fact that it has makes it shine. It was a little bit dull, the color, and I didn't want it dull, so I wanted to have it, you know, a little bit of a shine. So I decided to do it this. But like I said, you don't have to. You can avoid this step. And you can use anything else. I decided to use Elmer's glue instead of varnish because varnish is toxic for the environment when you spray it or when you paint it on because it has these toxic fumes in it. And Elmer's glue doesn't have toxic fumes. It does the same thing. It has a nice little shine to it. So I like to recycle and try to save the environment from anything toxic. And also for my health wise. This is what I used. Hello everybody, this is the finished project. It took, you could say, basically 2 days, and to make this video it took me a day also, and I think it looks great. It could have more details in it, but I wanted to make this video a short video, but it wasn't. I apologize for that it's such a long video. But this is how it looks now. I'm holding the video camera in my hand because I hung this on my wall in my workroom. And yeah, I think it came out great. I could have added a little more details to it. But, you know, I think you don't want to put too much in a painting because sometimes if you put too much, it's like overkill. So you can do anything else you want with it. You can make the face a little bit, you know, thinner, smaller, so that it's not poking out so much. You can do, like I said, with if you use the thicker aluminum foil, you can actually have even better depth. I can't talk right now. So if you want to make any, like, you know, swirlies or zigzags or lines on it, or make, you know, all kinds of little decorations in it. But if you want to have something underneath, I suggest that you use a thinner aluminum foil. If you want to like put like a flower or, you know, rope or yarn and stuff like that. If you want to put something underneath, I suggest that you use thinner aluminum foil because it's easier to mold around it. So that's another tip for you guys. I hope you like my video. And if you like it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.